another, you have the floor, please, yes.
This was for Akis Gavrilidis. Really enjoyed the paper. And my question is this, is that at some level it seems as though it's a critique of kind of ethno-translation along the lines of what maybe Peter Mackert was talking about in terms of ethno-etymology, right? In terms of a translation as a kind of and that part is completely clear to me. But there's this other part that was maybe even more interesting, which is in the same way that you're describing what's happening with this community in which they are apart but also more original than the actual original. I'm wondering if as a translator there's something attractive to you about a translation that could be kind of a dialect of the original, right? Or a subset, right? But also at the same way, more original than the original. And I felt like this, and maybe what I'm asking you is, can you give me a kind of, what do these Pontic translations that you're showing us actually do for translation theory? Because I think that it's actually giving us a productive alternative to ethno, or or masking what it would do.
Thank you. Yes, please.
No, I've decided to withdraw, sorry.
Okay.
I thought they were excellent presentations. Thank you very much. Just a small question to Akis Gavrilidis, whose presentation I liked very much. Whom do you think these Pontic Greek variant translations of Asterix are addressed to? I mean, who are the consumers of this? Because in my endless years of studying the Soviet Greeks, the Pontic Greeks, I've discovered that the new generation doesn't speak the language.
And another last question, please, so that we will...
Okay. There's also a question for Akis. You mentioned... Oh, sorry. Okay. You mentioned, I think in the beginning of your talk, that they use the term akrites, meaning the people who are guarding the borders of the territory, and then you also mentioned that this border is also the border of the Greek state. And I was wondering if you could elaborate on that a little bit more.
Thank you for the questions. These are also very interesting questions. I think the matter itself is very complicated, but for that same reason, it's very interesting. I think it's a gold mine for social research. And I'll try to give some answers. Well, I'll start from the last question, which was the easiest, even though not that easy. But anyway, what I meant by akrites in the Greek state is that Pontic populations were installed mainly in Greek Macedonia, which is the border of the Greek state. That's what I meant. I mean, it's very... And this has been indeed appropriated by some of these populations, at least. And they use it to, to boost their self-confidence and say, we have always been those who preserve, civilization for the barbarians and everything, this kind of thing, of the Oriental and everything. And then the Bulgarians and Slavs, communists after the Civil War and everything. And this is very much linked to the Macedonian question, but I'll not get into that now. So what do these translations give us? I think that before answering that, we have to admit that there is no one Pontic language. It is a post-factum construction. I mean, the idea of a Pontic language occurred in Greece when these people came to Greece. Officially, they came home. They were Palinostundes, like Ms. Fudora spoke about the people from the former Soviet Union who came in Greece. And the official state used the term Palinostundes, those who come back home, to the homeland. But in fact, these people were never here. I mean, they did not return. They traveled, but it's a false identity. And what I think is very interesting is that these translations show us that there is no original. I mean, it's a purely postmodern activity. We translate in a language that never existed. We write it for the first time. And in fact, this glossary, this leaflet inside the Asterix album explains why this guy transcribes, I mean, he says, I'll use this symbol and sigma with some, horns on it to render this sound, because the Greek alphabet is not adequate to render the sounds of the Pontic language. So there are many Pontic languages already when these people were there before 1922, because it's a large region separated by many rivers and mountains and everything. And in Kerasunda they do not speak the same as in Sinopia and so forth. Then there's another language by Turks, Turkish citizens who still remain there because they are Muslims, and they kept speaking their dialect. And from the 80s on, Greek Pontians started traveling to do this pilgrimage to their ancestors' homes. And they are able to communicate with the people living there, but not always, because they have preserved the more original form of the language. They are not exposed to the influence of Standard Greek. The people in the Soviet Union probably have a different version of it. So who are the consumers? The producers are the consumers. I mean, it's a performance. It's a performance. It's I don't really know. I mean, they're trying to do something, and this is a social poetics, and also there's cultural intimacy. There is specific Pontic cultural intimacy. I think we can say that. And well, there's a lot more to say. But also the addressees, maybe not the consumers, but the addressees is also the Pontic diaspora and the global community as well, because the claim for Pontic genocide is addressed, well, to the Greek state primarily, but then to the global community. And you have Pontic communities in Germany and Canada and Australia, and they are more even active than people in Katerini and Thessaloniki and everything. So it's a very global phenomenon, well, local but global at the same time phenomenon, and a very interesting one. I tried to show some aspects of it, but it's large, it's really large.